If you want to go down a nostalgia path for the Batman animated series, then stay tuned as I talk about the series' freakiest episodes. Hi guys, welcome to the Fangirl. I'm McGann, and I've been obsessed with Batman the animated series since it first premiered way back in the 90s. I mean, Batman TAS is probably the most iconic superhero show ever created, and you really never knew what to expect when you tuned in. While the show had no shortage of freaky-looking villains, it would be like playing Russian roulette as to whether the episode would be goofy, stern, or nightmare fuel that would haunt you for the next 30 years straight. So I'm about to cover the episodes that unhinged my soul as a child, most of which are still pretty unnerving today. Oh, and to be clear, I am going to include the Adventures of Batman and Robin and the New Adventures of Batman in this list. I mean, it is all the same continuity, even though they zhuzh up the characters a little bit. Most people don't disagree with that, but I'm sure there's some neckbeard somewhere sitting at his keyboard just waiting to type scream, "Blue-eyed Bruce Wayne is not canon!" Number 6. Moon of the Wolf. When athlete Tony Romulus can't handle his slipping status, he takes a serum from Professor Milo that was supposed to enhance Tony with wolf DNA. One problem though, after a while, the serum turned Tony into a half-werewolf kind of monster. Darn it, I just hate it when I'm looking for cutting-edge performance-enhancing drugs and the side effects are transmutation. The real upsetting issue comes up when Professor Milo reveals that there is no cure to ever make Tony human again. But he can opt to become all werewolf if he'll do Milo's bidding. Lacking any other options, Tony agrees to the terms and, well, Batman soon gets involved. With all his brains and connections though, Batman still can't help Tony turn back into a human. The episode ends with a realtor showing Tony Romulus's fully furnished home to prospective new buyers while a lone wolf cries at the moon. Like many of Batman's villains, there really is no help to be had for Romulus, but all the same, it's such a bleak ending for someone who doesn't want to be a criminal and who would gladly go back to his old life if he could. Number 5. What is reality? 8-year-old me didn't realize how cheesy the Riddler was. I mean, those riddles were fresh at my age, okay? But one episode in particular, What is Reality, really takes the award for bad computer-themed episodes from the 90s. Basically, the episode is the Riddler doing the dot hack sign thing before it was cool. He gets Batman and Robin to plug into a virtual world with him, and for some stupid reason, they try to make the virtual reality have real life consequences, cause, you know, that's how technology works. And if you make a wrong move, you're gonna get sword art online. Anyways, Batman ends up crashing the game, and the Riddler is so busy monologuing that he doesn't log out in time, and Batman finds the Riddler sitting in a chair with his brain fried. Do screenwriters not realize that playing a VR game does not actually project your consciousness into the machine? Seriously, if your PlayStation loses power, you just take off the headset and cuss out the bright light. You're not trapped in the spirit world with a brain-dead body left behind. Although, fair enough, the PlayStation 1 didn't even exist when this episode came out, cause we were still rocking the Sega Genesis in those days. So, for the time frame, this episode really horrified a lot of kids. You know, this episode is probably the reason why I screamed nope and ran away anytime a Best Buy employee asked me to try out the Oculus. It's because I am from the 90s. I know what these headsets can do to your mind. Number 4. Tiger Tiger. Have you ever thought that Batman was just lacking in transmutation story arcs? Man-Bat, Clayface, Killer Croc, whatever the heck the Penguin's backstory is supposed to be in TAS? That's not enough for you? Okay, well how about a needless Island of Dr. Moreno spoof with Catwoman? That's what happened when Dr. Emile Dorian decided that Selena Kyle was worthy of being one of his hybrid beasts, like Tigress here. In some respects, Selena seemed happy enough to be a real Catwoman. However, the uncomfortable part comes into play when it's revealed that Selena has no memories left. Can you even imagine not only being taken apart against your will, but then to have your brain wiped and you wake up as an anthropomorphic cat with all these crazy new senses and abilities? And maybe worst of of all is that Selena gets saved by the end, but Tigress remains trapped forever in his beast form. Not only is it too late for Tigress to be changed back, but he doesn't remember being anyone else at this point. And even after realizing that Dr. Dorian did him wrong, Tigress still saw the Doctor as his father and wanted to save him. For a series that had so many resolutions for so many characters, I always hated that Tigress was stuck like this forever. Number 3, Love is a Crock. The New Adventures of Batman episode shows Baby Doll dating Killer Croc. Yes, this giant dude who looks like a deformed gator man is dating this woman who looks like a baby. I know there's someone out there for everyone and all, but the fetish issues alone that this episode brings up are seriously disturbing. This poor kid is like BoJack Horseman meets Spinell from Steven Universe. Basically, Mary has a disorder that keeps her looking like a 2-year-old even though she's in her 30s. So Mary had a mental lamb breakdown and turned into a Batman villain. Well, after Mary Doll's solo episode, she's gotten herself rehabilitated and she's struggling to be treated well in a normal life due to an ableist society. Then Mary sees Killer Croc on TV and decides to write home and tell Mama that she's met the one. And Killer Croc goes along with the relationship for a while. And I know, Mary is actually an adult trapped in a youthful body, so the couple's not really as twisted as it feels. But come on! Mary is still shown to be using a high chair, and with zero provocation, Batman and Batgirl excrete this moment to the audience.
What do you suppose they do on a date?
I don't want to think about it.
I can feel my childhood innocence leaving my body. I really can't believe someone would greenlight this abomination of a romantic couple to play on a kids show. Whoever wrote that episode needs to have their computer investigated by the FBI. And what's almost worse is that this episode ends with Croc not really being serious about Baby Doll, which hurts her more. Even though she's a bad guy, I still feel really sympathetic for Mary, and I just hate that she never gets the closure that a lot of other villains get. Number 2, House and Garden. Weird plant-like monsters start making trouble, and Batman goes looking to Poison Ivy as public enemy number 1. But Batman finds that Pamela Isley is now Pamela Carlyle, a happily married woman with 2 stepsons, Chris and Kelly. Batman tries to spy on Pam for a while, but after wasting all of his time watching her do boring housewife stuff, Batman decides to back off. But you know, a tiger can't really change its stripes, and a rose bush isn't going to start blooming daisies, so Ivy's gotta Ive. When Robin realizes that he had a class with Pam's new hubby, Dr. Stephen Carlyle, and that Chris and Kelly are girls, Batman bursts back into Ivy's home to find out that she's making plant-human hybrid babies. Legit, Poison Ivy G-ratedly tells us that she's using her husband's baby gravy to make these children.
He was useful in signing my release papers and for supplying certain raw materials for my experiments.
And somehow that keeps the plant babies from ever being girls, even though men have X and Y chromosomes. So they're designed by nature to make either gender offspring, but whatever. Still though, these babies are so human-like, even though they grow up super fast. First they look like kids, then they look like Dr. Carlyle, then these giant cacnea that live and die for Ivy. So flippin' weird. And of course, when Batman thinks he's closed in on Poison Ivy, he ends up catching her plant clone as it biodegrades away. Mind you, these plant people look just like melting humans, which is sure to help kids sleep comfortably at night. Thanks for the nightmares, Batman. Now I want to know where babies come from. And before I unveil the number 1 freakiest episode of Batman the Animated Series, let's go over some honorable mentions. Annie! Anyone who watched the episode Growing Pains remembers the emotional scars of Tim Drake befriending Annie, a girl who appeared to be running away from her abusive father. Well, it turns out that Annie was a piece of Clayface that was sent out to gather information, but then gained full sentience and thought she was a real person. The episode ends with the death of Annie as she's reabsorbed into Clayface. Robin's hurt, Clayface is whole, and Annie's gone forever. Yep, that's not gonna mess anybody up. Next, Cold Comfort isn't necessarily unsettling as an episode, but we do learn that Mr. Freeze's wife Nora was saved and Mr. Freeze never came for her. What? How could the truest love story in Batman not have some kind of happy ending? Oh, because Mr. Freeze is a head on mechanical spider legs now, that's why. Good call staying away there, buddy. It is totally better to leave your wife with your memory than to let her see you like this stuff of nightmares. Now, this honorable mention isn't for an episode per se, but can we get a freaky round of applause for Scarecrow's redesign? Because this is a look that takes Scarecrow from a silly little villain to crap your pants level of scary. Not to mention, all of these honorable mentions are out of The New Adventures of Batman, which really did a good job closing out a lot of the villain's story arcs. So even though some of you might hate that little added bonus series, it still deserves some credit for the good work it did. Number 1. His silicon soul. It's the return of the duplicants, which are these lifelike robots that the computer system Hardak is using to replace influential citizens of Gotham. And even though Batman thought Hardak had been destroyed before, it turned out that he made one Bruce Wayne duplicant before he powered down. And this duplicant has some moments that will scar you in your soul.
Alfred, it's me. I need your help. I have to find out what's happened to me. I'm not going to last long like this.
The memories it has are so convincing that the duplicant starts begging for help, claiming to be Bruce Wayne's brain trapped in a machine.
Listen to me. Someone put my mind into this robot body. You're the only one who can help me.
These circuits will give out, probably in a matter of hours.
Then we've got to find my real body, or transfer me to another robot shell.
Robo-Batman soon flips his destroy all humans switch and prepares to replace the world with robots when, due to his Batman mindset, he has a breakdown and violently commits suicide. I mean, I guess he's a robot, so it's not technically suicide, but still, it was the same kind of implication. The episode ends with the fleshy Batman questioning whether or not the duplicant had a soul of its own.
Could it be it had a soul, Alfred? A soul of silicon. But a soul, nonetheless.
Because, the robot already swearing it's a human wasn't terrorizing enough for young audiences. Let's also watch this robot kill himself and then give all the kids an existential crisis. Was nobody supervising this show? It aired on Saturday mornings and during cartoon blocks after school. They were definitely aware that this show's primary audience were children. So that's it. That's my list. Did your favorites make the cut, or do you think I've forgotten some really creepo episodes? Either way, I'm gonna leave you with an old song from an old Batman commercial, or at least a part of it, because I really can't remember the whole thing. When you think you've reached the end, signal your only friends, Batman and Robin, dare to right what's wrong. Ooh, that didn't sound great, but I hope you guys had fun with me today anyways, and we will see you next time, family members. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.